you can do to help the planet in under 15 minutes, and hopefully this video stays around 15 minutes as well. I can never remember exactly how the quote goes or who said it, but it's the sentiment that we don't need 100 people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions and billions of people doing it imperfectly, that has much bigger of an impact. And I think if you take that saying and you apply it to anything that has to do with environmentalism, right, like activism, eating plant-based, driving less, all those sort of things, the idea is that we don't have to be perfect to make a difference with the planet. My goal is also that this video has nothing to do with buying anything, because my friend Sage, I love her, obsessed with her work, go check her out. I've been saying this for years, but she kind of said it to me the other day in a way that sounded so much better, and she said, there is no product you can buy that is good for the planet. Anything you buy is a net negative for the planet, because we are extracting resources, you guys know I talk about this all the time, to make those things, therefore harming and taking from the earth. There's nothing you can buy that is good for it, but there are things we can do to advocate for it, to use less of the resources, and that's kind of the whole idea. So my goal of this video is to tell you 15 things that you can do right now if you have 15 minutes to make a difference. The first thing that doesn't take a lot of explanation, so we won't spend a lot of time on it, is picking up trash on your street. When you're walking, when you're running, when you're taking your dog outside, if you're just standing on the street talking to your neighbors, I don't know what you do. This is when I see trash, and this is when I pick it up. Literally, if you have 15 minutes, set a timer, see how much you can pick up in 15 minutes, and pay attention to what that trash is and see if you can reduce it in your life. Doing a trash pickup doesn't take much explanation, but the next one, which is a trash audit, might take a little bit more explaining. Similarly to how I said when you are picking up trash outside as litter, pay attention to what it is, try to reduce your waste. Same idea with a trash audit. Go through your trash, see what you're throwing away regularly, and if there's a way to reduce it. I find trash audits to be so fun. I love doing them for my friends and family. I nerd out about these sort of things, and it's really easy to just see what you're tossing and see if there's a way to buy a less wasteful alternative. Maybe you're able to find it unpackaged, maybe it's something you're able to make yourself, or maybe there's just a more sustainable version of it, or maybe just maybe you just don't need it, you know, like those Amazon mailers, stuff like that. While I'm definitely at a place in my environmentalist journey that I don't think trash is the most important thing, it is the thing that we interact with on a daily basis so often, and it is a net positive to make less trash on the planet, right? So make a trash audit, do a trash audit. Learn the recycling rules where you live. If you don't already know the recycling rules where you live, definitely take 15 minutes and research it. If you don't have recycling at your home, take 15 minutes and see if there are any drop-offs nearby. If you don't know how to recycle, go through what numbers of plastics are recyclable where you live. Maybe you'll find out that you're able to recycle Tetra Paks in your curbside, like I am, miraculously. It's really important when we talk about recycling to know what the actual rules are where we live, so that we're not doing something called wish cycling, which is putting something that's not recyclable in your curbside, hoping it gets recycled, because that leads to contamination, which leads to less things getting recycled. If you didn't already know this, if a certain batch of recycling, no matter where it's from, your neighborhood or your city or whatever, at a lot of processors, if that batch reaches a certain level of contamination, they will literally just throw the whole batch out, even the things that are recyclable. And that's a huge problem, which we could get into in another video if you want, but in general, take 15 minutes, learn how to recycle where you live.
Get your up and
learn how to recycle where you live. Now here at number 4, I'm already giving away the lead. Okay, this is the most impactful thing you can do for the planet in under 15 minutes, and that is register to vote, make sure you're registered to vote, and make a voting plan. Honestly, I'm not even concerned with advocating for who you should vote for, because numbers show over time, polls show over time, that the people in the US specifically and all around the world are on the side of fighting climate change, are on the side of doing good things for the planet. They are already on the side that we need them to be on to make the changes. But since this video is talking about ways that you can help the planet, I want you to commit to being a climate voter, for that to be the cause and the reason that you cast your vote in the upcoming elections. You can commit to being a climate voter by going to votefuture.org, where you can learn all sorts of resources about how to find the candidates that support these changes, how to register to vote, making sure you're registered to vote, where your closest polling place is. Take your friend, your roommate, your sister, your brother, your mother, your neighbor, take everybody with you and ask them to vote for climate as well. The passage of the Inflation Reduction Act is a direct engagement of activism and outreach from millions of young people like you and me. me. Using our voices and voting with our dollars and making changes and voting are all reasons that that act was actually passed. That said, it's only really like a down payment on the climate action we need. It's really good and we can celebrate, but then we still have to remember we still have to do our part. We have to keep going. And making sure you have a plan to vote in November is the way to keep that momentum going for the environmental progress. And we don't even want to talk about if people who oppose climate action get into office, roll back the progress we've made. We can't allow that to happen. So leave a link at the top of the description to make sure you make a plan. Please do so. It will take you less than 15 minutes and it absolutely will help the planet. Now, similarly with voting, you can find out in less than 15 minutes who your representatives are. And you have more than just people who are in the House and in the Senate for you. You also have your city council members. You have your attorney general of your state. There are an endless amount, honestly, of people who represent you, and knowing who they are is very important. Specifically your city council member. They can make some big changes in your area, and I've been working with mine over the last few years. Well, more importantly, over the last 6 months to see some important things implemented. Literally, if you just Google who are my representatives, there are several websites where you can put in your zip code and it'll spit out the answer for you. It's really easy. Okay, here's one that I think we all have the intention to do, but sometimes we forget to click that little box, and it is go paperless. Again, with the theme of not having to buy anything in this video, because nothing you can buy is really like good for the planet, but in under 15 minutes, if any of your bills are being sent to you on paper, take 15 minutes, guys, okay? I have anxiety and ADHD. I completely understand that these little tiny tasks seem super overwhelming, but to go paperless will definitely take you less than 15 minutes if you log into any portal and click a box. I promise the planet will thank you. Just take the 15 minutes and get it done. Same with junk mail, right? I used to get very little junk mail, so it was really easy for me to go through it and unsubscribe from all of the things that I needed to. Now that we live in a house instead of like in a garage apartment, I feel like it's a water hose that I just can't seem to turn off, but I keep trying, and I take about 15 minutes every other week or so to unsubscribe from junk mail. And there are also websites that can help you do this. And maybe you can't unsubscribe from all of your junk mail in 15 minutes, but you can probably unsubscribe for some if you set a timer for 15 minutes and get rid of some of that junk mail that is literally not only bad for the planet because it's sending you paper through the mail using emissions to get that mail here, but also bad because of the ads that you did not consent to being in front of your face. That's just ridiculous to me. So definitely, if you take 15 minutes, unsubscribe from junk mail for your physical mailbox, as well as your email, because if you didn't know, emails, junk emails actually take up energy to store as well. So unsubscribing from junk mail, under 15 minutes. Good luck. My #1 tip for reducing food waste is this. Keep track of what's in your fridge and in your pantry. And by that, I mean have certain shelves that certain foods go on. So when you go in your pantry and you're looking for grains, they're all on one shelf, okay? When you go into your fridge and you're like, do I have any more green leaf lettuce this week? You know exactly where to look and see if it's there, and you can always keep inventory where you know things are supposed to be for when they're running out. Food waste is a huge problem for the environment, and I have a whole video where I talk more about that if you want to go find out. But taking the 15 minutes to make sure you're preventing food waste is a good thing for the planet. You can also take 15 minutes and look into authors, books, organizations, all those sort of things to determine your next eco read. So if you are a reader or a listener, me, if you listen to audiobooks, if you're already doing that, trying to find a new book that is maybe a story around environmental concerns or an educational book or something like that, taking 15 minutes to find a read that could align with those things so that you could learn something new is a good use of 15 minutes, I think, to research books. Unplug your things you're not using to avoid vampire energy. I've seen studies that say up to like 1/5 of the energy you use per month is vampire energy. We're talking about cutting your energy bill by 1/5. 20% reduction in your electricity bill if you unplug things when you're not using them. This won't even take you 15 minutes to walk around and find out what things are plugged in that don't need to be, but it can definitely save you money, and obviously conserving energy is better for the planet. Do you like that this plant is right here? It just looks so good. I don't want to move it, but I keep hitting it a little bit. Sorry, guy. You could definitely take under 15 minutes and scroll TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, those meal planning apps, the calorie tracker apps sometimes have. The one I worked with earlier this year has specifically a climatarian meal plan. So you could take time and find yourself a climatarian meal that is going to be better for the planet. And you could definitely just take some time to find some recipes that fit into those categories that are better for the planet, right? In that same time, you could take the time to research farmers near you, right? Find a local farm or like a local co-op, a CSA, those sort of things. See what is growing local in your area. And you may not be able to get like your whole grocery cart locally, obviously, because of the way our economy is set up. It doesn't prioritize small scale farmers, but perhaps you could buy like one thing this week or for this season from a local farm because you took that 15 minutes to see what is actually being grown around you, and you could subscribe to like a subscription service through them. You can find out what farmers markets they're at, those sort of things. Basically, this is research. Find out what's grown near you. So I didn't know if I should announce this at the beginning of the video, but I'm just gonna sneak it in here real quick. This is my last video that I'm going to film in this house. And so this is one thing that I am going to sit down next week after we move and do, and that is find eco-organizations where you live. There's not a lot that operate out of San Antonio. Unfortunately, there is the Citizens Climate Lobby, which I am a part of, but there will be a new chapter once I move to Austin. And then there are probably a bunch of other organizations or meetup groups or walking groups, potluck groups, those sort of things. I might start one myself, but I will definitely sit down, take 15 minutes to research what organizations I can become a part of once I move to a new community, because I really think building community is one of the most important things to a sustainable future. Like, I think if we continue this very individualistic society that the US currently has, we cannot achieve the goals as a society to sustain our environment. And so it's very important to me to build community, to be a part of a community, and the best way to start that is to join an equal organization of people who share the same passions as you. So take 15 minutes, see if there's one in your area, and this is gonna take you more than 15 minutes, but if there's not, maybe that's your sign to start one. I talk about this one a lot. I do this about once a month, which is take 15 minutes, write to brands, organizations, your representatives, because remember earlier we took 15 minutes to learn who those people are, and write to them about concerns you've seen in your city. If it's a brand that you love and you use, write to them about their packaging, write to them about when they're gonna be carbon neutral. If it's your representative for your city, ask them why we're watering the grass at the park in the middle of summer. I wrote that letter so many times. But it definitely doesn't take more than 15 minutes when you see something that is a concern of yours to sit down and write to someone about it. So take the time. The planet will thank you. And number 15 is to watch a video, a documentary, a podcast about environmentalism. You can of course watch my videos or any other of my favorite creators here on YouTube who talk about sustainability. I was invited by YouTube to go to New York to meet a bunch of different creators for a summit they're starting called Creators for Climate. Still room for improvement on their end, which we're talking about, we're in talks about. But I met so many of them. So there are so many creators on here who maybe don't put climate change or sustainability in their titles, but there are so many of them making content around sustainability. If you want something a little bit more educational, there are of course documentaries. You can find some on Netflix, Curiosity Stream, Wondrium. If you want to learn a new skill around gardening or repairing, Skillshare is an awesome resource. But learning and always being open to learning new things is really important. And you can definitely learn a small skill or learn something new in under 15 minutes. And I definitely recommend you do that for the sake of our planet. Those are the 15 things you can do in under 15 minutes to help the planet. I hope you loved it. This is really bittersweet, actually. I'm just kind of pushing through the video like normal, but this is the last video that I'm going to film in this setup. I am gonna try to do some like sustainable moving vlogs for you, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. The most important takeaway from this video is to make sure you are registered to vote and have a voting plan come midterms next month. I'm gonna leave a link at the top of the description to make sure you know how to do that, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave you off here with my new favorite quote that I made up, which is, do your best and advocate for the rest. Thanks, guys.